Great. Oh, good. Thanks, Peter. Okay. There we are. Okay. So, all right. We will save our one word. Go ahead and get started on our next little bit. So the next thing that we would like to start with today as our opening is just a little short mindfulness exercise to help us sort of come together and be present in this digital kōrero or discussion. So click on that little link there and it should hopefully, can you guys, see the screen? Yeah.
There's no sound though, you might need to unshare and reshare with sound.
Thanks, Hannah. So how do you share with sound here? Advanced sharing?
In the bottom left corner, there's a little tick box. Share computer sound.
Bottom left corner.
Sorry, after you click share screen and it comes up with your different tabs. And it's in the bottom corner there.
Good thing we've got you here today. Yeah. They're in the true Tanari room if you need to jump into that room as well, Hannah. Beautiful. All right, let's start our moment of mindfulness now.
Take a slow, easy, deep breath in and slowly release the breath out. Breathe in the goodness of this day. You brought your best. Breathe out any input, criticism, or critique that was not warranted, welcomed in any shape or fashion. Breathe that out. You are in a delicate dance of giving, of sharing, of believing. Your dance can be seen by those who have called you before them and welcomed you here. Shine bright for them. Be fully present for them. Peace.
Now we'll do some introductions. So as this is Peter's first time and Ray's first time, I think it would be good if we went around and everyone just introduced themselves and said a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what you do. So kia ora, I'm Tabitha Murray. I'm our Service Improvement Manager here at Spectrum Care, and I've started with Spectrum Care 11 years ago as a community support worker and worked through many different roles in the organization. I am American, living in New Zealand for 12 years now, and I have a lovely young family with my Kiwi husband.
Kia ora, my name's Peter, 28 years old. Well, 29 years old. I'm Kiwi, Dutch, and Maori, but I don't speak those languages, so I'm fully English. I have been with Spectrum, oh my God, I'll say about 4 years. I can't remember exact. I had a receptionist job until I got redundant, so now I'm on the advisory team. And I'll get into that later. And yeah, that's me.
Linda.
Hi everybody, my name's Linda and I'm coming to you from Southeast Queensland today, so in Australia, and I'm the General Manager of a not-for-profit organisation over here. The stream that I work through is disability inclusion, and we are the NDIS partner in the community for 4 service areas across New South Wales. So Northern New South Wales, all of Western New South Wales, Far West New South Wales and the Central Coast. So we support around 15,000 people who are on the NDIS scheme, as well as about another 10,000 people who live in our communities with disability.
Jackie. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Clint te mona, ko Stawa te awa, ko Wodsley te iwi, ko Jackie Musko Yangaho, ko kai whakahare kaupapa, Spectrum Care. So just introduce myself, talking about where I'm from in the UK, with the nearest kind of mountain, not quite a mountain, more of a hill. It's the Clent Hills, and the River Stour that runs through the area that I was born in, Wordsley, and talking about my role here at Spectrum Care, which is a project manager. And I've been with Spectrum Care for 4 years, over 4 years, but in and around the industry for probably a bit longer than I care to remember. Maybe heading for the late 20s, somewhere along that line. As old as you are, Peter. I think I started working when you were born.
Probably, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Jackie. And Ray.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Sorry that I missed the past presentation. I did get caught up on YouTube. I thought it was fantastic, by the way. So especially the humanly graphics, I really enjoy those. So anytime I can look at cartoons and try and understand something, it's always appreciated, for my mind anyway. I live and work in a community, a small city called Coquitlam, which is in British Columbia, Canada. The First Nation for name for Coquitlam is Quikwetlam, and that is the traditional ancestral and unceded territory of those people. And I live and work there. I work for and with people in the disability community, and we are an organization, not for profit, that provides services and supports for those people looking to achieve their best life. And we value contributions from those citizens and look for ways to support them in their goals of achieving a good life. We think that starts with valued social roles. So thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you very much for sharing, Ray. Logan.
Morena all. My name's Logan. I'm from Humanly. I'm one of a small team of 3, and I just heard a reference to some resources. So we absolutely love images. That's our jam. So we're a really small social enterprise from the Maiti Waikato, but we work throughout New Zealand, primarily with disability support providers. And our mission, our passion is human beings being human at work, at home, and in the community. So what does a good life look like for everyone, irrespective of where they're at? So that's we're just really passionate about humans and working with people just to see what we can do in whatever way to support people to have great lives. Kia ora.
Thanks, Logan. Angela and Debbie.
Angela, I'm a residential manager with Kamloops Society for Community Living in Kamloops, obviously, British Columbia, Canada. And we are a non-profit society also.
My name is Debbie Sloaney, and I work for Kamloops Society for Community Living also with Angela in the same nonprofit. I support people through employment, outreach, and community inclusion. I have been in the field for almost 40 years and seen lots of changes over the years. And I think we're in a good place moving forward right now.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Carol.
Morena, everybody. I'm from Palmerston North in New Zealand, and I work for Tautoko Support Services. So we support around 300 people in the lower North Island and top of the South Island. My role is service steward, and that's kind of developed as we've been developing self-managing teams across the organisation. So that's been quite exciting. And I'm really interested in Peter's presentation around that co-creation so that people work together to create change in the organisation. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Fabulous. Thank you, Carol. Hannah.
Maria, everyone. Good morning. So I think some of you met me last week. So my name is Hannah, and I'm the practice lead of the speech and language therapy team at Spectrum Care. I guess when we talk about speech and language therapy, often people think of talking and speech sounds, but my role is much more around understanding how people connect and engage and understand or share information, and providing some of the practical tools and strategies to facilitate them to do whatever it is they choose to do. That's me.
Thanks, Hannah. And Andrea.
Kia ora koutou. Hei tā te korero o tōku whānau ko tā wāhi ahau, ko te whenua o ko te mana ahau, ko Shihalion tōku maunga, whakahira, ko Lochtei tōku roto ho honu, ko Andrea. So I'm from Scotland. The bones of my ancestors are from Scotland. I live here in New Zealand. Love the country. Yeah, and where I work is with Carol in a much smaller space most of the time in community circles, and we're about looking at how people can learn how to connect themselves to the people they want to in the community, and it's a really good learning journey. Just want to say too, I haven't been very well, so I'm half up, half asleep, half dressed, half not, but very interested. So I might turn my screen off so you guys don't have to look at me too often.
Fine, Andrea. Thank you for joining anyway. We're happy to have you guys all here with us today.
Right.
Awesome. So next, that'll lead on quite nicely. I'm going to have Peter introduce you to the rest of the advisory team members who are not here today, but we've got some pictures of them, hopefully. So first about the team, a little bit about the team. So Peter, can you go through that one with me?
Okay, so a little bit about the team. We are made up of 8 members in whom we live in Spectrum houses. Yeah. Tabitha and our leaders who help make sure we are doing our work well. Sorry, the words are just too small. Shasmin and Yasmin are our coordinators. They help us with our day-to-day routine and organize appointments with us. Things like my life surveys and other projects.
Awesome. And so this is our lovely Monday team, which Peter is a part of.
Yeah.
And we each have a bit of a special interest or a specialty area. So
yeah.
Would you talk a little bit about your specialty
area? Okay, so my specialty area, as you can see on the board, well, not on the board, but anyway, my life survey. So basically what that means is in the organization Spectrum Care, which I work with, I go around house to house with Shasmin, my facilitator. She drives me around and we go to house interviewing people with special needs. Now, interviewing not for jobs, just to see what they need and what they're like, how they're coping at their place, basically.
What are some of the questions that you ask on my life survey, Peter?
So some of the questions we ask is like, do you have a family? Yes or no? Do you have a partner, boyfriend, girlfriend? Do you want a partner, boyfriend, girlfriend? Do you have a key to your home? Stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, that's all I do really.
Awesome. This is our Tuesday team. So it's a couple of other team members. And after this slide, we're going to show you guys a video and you'll get a lot more information about the A team and the things the A team have done. We've put together. It's about a 30-minute video, but we'll pause it halfway through to have a bit of more discussion. All right, so let me make sure. Can you guys see that screen? Yep, beautiful. And you can still hear? Great. Let me just try and get this out of the way. So I can... All righty. Well, hold on, I might mute us so that we don't distract everyone. Maybe not.
I think if you mute yourselves, then it mutes your computer as well.
Yep.
I'm tired and I like comics and cars and supercars. I'm originally from Samoa. I came here when I was 2.5 years old.
David McLuhan, and I speak up on people's behalf and do work the office, and I also help out with staff interviews, contribute, ask questions.
My name is Ben Hokai and I live at Katami now, and I used to live at Fairview.
My name is Michael Kevin Flowers. I work for the A team at the Hub.
I talk to them about their problems, and I come to work here. I like to do the A team and interviews, and what else? The property, doing the properties and going to people's first and that, and going to people's houses. Standing up for welcoming people in the marae to Spectrum. Standing up and saying, welcome to Spectrum and kia ora, my name is Ben Hokai.
I like not necessarily the hours so much, like we all, but more the role and helping out one another, hearing one another, and also interviews, being part of interviews.
I don't really have a fond memory, but all I can say is what I like about the job is that, of course, getting paid. Who doesn't like that? And also I like just interacting with different people that I haven't actually met before and interviewing them. So it kind of tells me what they're kind of like in person and everything. That's what I actually enjoy about the job. So yeah.
I work for Spectrum Care. We work for people like me, and just to help them out, to see what they need, to see what they want. Well, when we introduce ourselves, we say we're from the A team. We come in to check on the houses to see how they are, how they're doing, what they want to be done for the houses. Like, are they okay with the neighbor, or are they okay with the helper, or then we go back to the office and talk about how we're gonna do this or do that. Then we lay order by the board, like so.
Okay, so my role on the A team is that, so I go around with Shaslyn, my facilitator. She actually is the one that books all the interviews. And I just basically tag along with her, even though it's my job. So we drive around house to house within Spectrum Care, and we interview the clients that is actually needed to do the surveys, because we can only do the surveys every 2 years if someone's already done.
So one of the things that I worked on with the advisory team was to work with PwC when they were reviewing the strategic plan for Spectrum Care. So to help people we support get their input into Spectrum Care's strategic plan for the next 5 years, we used a communication tool called Talking Mats. And that really helped people to share their ideas around what they thought was most important for Spectrum Care to be focusing on in the future. And a really important part of obviously building that strategic plan is making sure that the voice of people we support is front and center of that. So Talking Mats is a communication tool that we've been using quite a lot at Spectrum Care, and I recently did a license training with the A team, and that was to get them familiar with how to use a talking mat to support other people that they are visiting to communicate more effectively. So one of the things that the A team do is My Life Survey, which is a quality of life measure which uses a visual structure quite similar to Talking Mats to help people who might have a little bit of difficulty with language express themselves more clearly. So by doing the license training with the A team, that helps them to be able to use the My Life Survey resources, but it also helps them to develop resources to help people communicate when they're out in the houses getting feedback on a whole range of different topics and issues that people might raise with them. The My Life surveys are really important because they help to capture people's voice around how they feel their quality of life is going, and it's a nice opportunity to just sit down and reflect with someone who's outside of their normal everyday life, and I think that kind of stopping and thinking about how are things going can be a really valuable opportunity for all of us.
To gather the information and the overview, full view of the people's lives and how they are being supported or they are doing in their life.
So Program Astra is a big training and service improvement initiative which has a few different components. One of the components is informed decision making. So as part of that, we've prepared some training for support staff to help them understand how important it is to support people to make their own decisions, as well as some practical tools and strategies to help them support people to make their own decisions. And then also as part of that, we've developed a module specifically for people we support to do with their staff to help inform them about their rights, what decision making can look like, and inform them about the things that their staff are being trained in. So the A team helped us to develop some of the content for that, and then they reviewed it and provided their feedback, and based off their feedback we changed a couple of things to make sure that it works as well as it can and is the kind of information that people we support need to access.
Yeah, very much so. I think growing voice, mana, and self-determination is those are probably the three pillars of the EGL, in my opinion, anyway. The having having that opportunity for voice is crucial. So we certainly are moving in the right direction there. That self-determination is all about self-advocacy and being able to be given the tools, the ability and the opportunities to make those choices themselves. And then mana is crucial. And how do we raise the profile of the A team? They are there representing the people that we support, and not only our people, but the whole of Aotearoa. So I'd like to see them, interviewing politicians and advocating for stop streets or roundabouts and really ensuring that their community hears their voice. These are young adults that could be our future leaders of not even the organisation, of the country. And there's some budding politicians inside that group, and we need to help them build their leadership skills, grow their voice, grow their confidence, and really, I can't wait to watch them flourish beyond the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely, because the individuals on the team generally came with other things they were having to deal with. So they might have been living at home, but most of the team were in services. So you were often having to make sure that their staff were aware of certain things, their families might have to be aware of certain things. The logistics of just getting them to work would sometimes be an issue. And there might be issues happening at their home that were causing them not to get to work, and there were access issues. And then when Ty was brought on board, and Ty was chosen by the team, which was really cool, nice young Samoan man. Then we had to think about access issues that came with it. And one of the other things that was brought up fairly early in the piece was why didn't the team consist of people who were non-verbal? And we discussed that and talked about, well, actually there would be no issue with that if there was some way in which that person could still communicate, because the object being that they would be retrieving information and providing information too, so they're educating as well as receiving that information. So the other barrier was the organisation actually recognising them as employees. And so, and even staff at their own homes would sometimes not take it seriously that they had a job to get to and make appointments on that one day that they had to work. So that was a barrier. But that in the office, people being seen as other employees, workmates. But in some ways that there was some complexities that sat there that wouldn't normally sit in other work environments, and that is that these individuals receive services from their employer, and they would come into the office and see a coordinator who might be their home, and they may have an issue, so they want to deal with that. So it was getting the team to understand when they came to work. They were there for work. Any issues or things they wanted to deal with would happen outside of that. But also the fact that the organisation need to recognise those genuine employees. So attending the Oscars, attending, any kind of function, you had to make sure that you reminded them they are employees. So please include them in that.
Okay. So pause there for a moment. Come back and say hello, everybody, again. So that we just have a little pause there and get a little bit of feedback, and maybe have a discussion around sort of those biases or challenges that people may find in setting up an advisory team like this, and what strategies we can use to overcome them to ensure that we are making sure the voice of people with actual lived experience of these services are being included within our organizations. What are you guys thinking? How are you feeling? Did you have any questions?
How long's the A team been running for now?
So I read, I think 2012 is when we first started, and it was a slightly smaller team, but a lot of them have actually been with us since 2012. So they're permanent employees coming in each week.
And have you seen a clear shift in, there's some of the barriers mentioned around staff behaviour, etc. Have you seen a clear shift in how the A team has been, seen as part of the collective workforce?
Yep, absolutely. We have definitely, so we started sort of making sure that they were presenting to the board rather than just providing information or providing papers, which I think has made a big difference. But also there were still, so with the lockdowns, we all had to revert to working from home, right? And then when we reopened the office, everyone had to come back to work, but we would call the houses and they're like, oh, we can't drive them there. And I was like, but it's their job, so you have to drive them there. It's what you have to do. And they're like, oh, it's too hard. Can't they just stay online now? And I was like, no, they're employees of the organization just like everyone else. So please find a way to organize your morning so that you can get them to work, because it's really important that they're here. So there is still a little bit of it. You will still find it in some places, but I think that we're definitely overcoming it, and by making sure that they are included. Like we've got our chief operating officer's morning tea. He's leaving the organization this morning, and obviously they were all straight away invited to that, which was really good to see. So we're definitely coming past some of that mindset where they don't get invited to things or anything like that. That's not really happening anymore. Linda.
I found it really interesting how you've overcome the barrier of communication, and just to have that opened up where not only providing training and education to the A team for their communication with other members of your community, but also then for the rest of the facilitators as well. And I think that while we do definitely have staff members and facilitators who can work with our advisory groups to have that more open, I think that was a big light bulb moment for me, is really focusing on that barrier of communication and making sure that there are multiple people and we're not just reliant on one or two experts, if you like, on some of those communication methods and technologies.
Definitely. So that that part of that informed decision making training, that's going to go out to every staff that works within our organization, from support workers all the way up to the chief executive should do it as well. And we've also got that module that's going to go to just people living in the houses that might interact with the team, and helping them to sort of understand their rights to being able to make their own choices and how we can support them with it. So I think it's one of the really cool things that we've been doing, and yeah, it's quite exciting.
Yeah, one of the things that we do is we have capacity, we call them capacity building workshops here. And so there are a range of different topics in regards to what we deem as important around capacity building for individuals. But I do feel sometimes is that we miss those fundamental basics. So that is definitely one. You know, we're always assuming, oh, it's about understanding finances, or it's about being able to do research around providers, or it's about, you know, self-determination, but maybe not necessarily going back to those basics around, well, how do you do self-determination and how do you do informed decision making if you don't have the communication methods in place to be able to promote your ideas and your thoughts. So thank you. Sometimes it's good to take that step backwards to move forward.
Beautiful. Thank you, Linda. Ray.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that the interview, that they're typically 2 years apart. Is that right? You revisit the planning or the questions, and is it typically the same format every 2 years, or are you that far along that?
Yeah, it's in the same format from 2 years ago.
Yeah, we use the same format. It has to be every 2 years. So basically, if someone's already done, say, in 2021, the next one would be, say, 2024, maybe.
Yeah, so we try to make them a minimum 2 years apart, and then we compare the data to try and see shifts in the different quality of life domains. And one of the things that we really did notice, obviously this year, is that there is a bit of a downward shift in personal freedom, because we've all experienced a downward shift in our personal freedom over the last 2 years. So it's good to be able to compare that to things that we expect are going to happen, but also to utilize that to see what focus areas we might need to focus on in the upcoming years to help people have the best lives that they can.
Great. And a follow-up question to that. So you are a service provider that also delivers supports and services to individuals. So there is that, obviously, as the agency or the organization grows, I would imagine then you're having to sort of expand on these interviews. And is that a fairly large part of the organization, is the growth of supporting different individuals? And
yeah, so we go ahead, Jackie.
Ray, particularly for my life surveys, we are undertaking those with people who are within our supported accommodation options. So it might be kind of, you know, more residential style support, different kind of independent living options, you know, a variety of levels of support and types of arrangements that people have. I think part of the reason why I'm not 100% sure if there's an exact time period by when we should do the next one. I think part of it is probably just pure capacity, that the A team are part-time within a week. So we've kind of got a couple of days a week when we can undertake the My Life surveys with people like Peter, Michael, and a few others doing them. And so to get through all of that group of people, it's probably going to take us a couple of year cycle, is the reality. We haven't used the My Life survey outside of that group, that kind of cohort, but there certainly is value in some of the questions that are asked, in terms of understanding how people are feeling about the different domains and areas of their life. And then when we look at all that, we try to aggregate that data and then sort of, what is this telling us, and one of the, like a simple question within the My Life survey is whether people had a key to their own home, and by us having asked that question, and you would think it would be quite simple to sort that out, but it led to many more people now having their own key to their own home. That's a few years ago now, but it's just some of that stuff really, and we Tabitha and I are really keen to dig into the data because we've got a good 2-year cycle now, and it's like, okay, so what is it telling us? What can we learn, and how can we use that information to improve? Put some improvement initiatives in place as well.
I see how the questions could. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. You go ahead.
I could see how some of the questions could trigger red flags and have you sort of dive deeper into bigger issues for people, especially around self-determination. The My Life survey also, I guess, could an individual sort of approach you about an interview again if things were changing for them? Would that be something that happens?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, sorry, just on that, you mentioned questions, and there are, certainly around kind of relationships and things like that, and that can be a very delicate area for some people. Either they feel like, why are you asking me this question, or it triggers the kind of, yes, I do really want more friendships, more relationships, and I don't have that so much in my life now. So another key part, Peter, when you and others go out, is just, catching and knowing about some of the concerns that might be being raised, and then not leaving those, kind of flagging them to somebody that can ensure there's some good support around for people as well. And I do think that it makes quite a big difference having a person with lived experience of disability doing the surveys. It sort of brings down some of those barriers. It's someone who's like me that's asking me these questions, and I think it gets a little bit more honest in that way. Andrea.
Yeah, kia ora. Peter, I was just wondering, like what training you did. Have you done training, like I heard within Spectrum, isn't it? Sorry, yeah. I want to ask a question, but my brain's a bit foggy. So have you done any training away from Spectrum? Like, are there some online studies, or have you talked to other disabled people's groups that are doing similar work?
Not exactly. No, I haven't done anything, but when I came into Spectrum, I basically picked it up quite quickly. So I picked it up quite quickly. So I was on board straight away. Like, I was alert.
And we've got a few trainings that we did do around sort of speaking up training with People's First, which was helping to sort of get information from people and help them to advocate for themselves. And there were a few other trainings that we've done here, but I don't know outside of here.
Okay, because I'm just really curious about the idea of whether you and some of the team would like to do some, not so much training, but talking with other people that are doing the same role, so you can kind of coach each other on what you're finding, really good about the role and what you're finding difficult, and sharing ideas with each other. because we had a little group a few years ago that were doing a similar thing, and that kind of petered out, excuse the expression, Peter. But also we've got a group at the moment that are working together for change, that are doing it in a really different way, but very similar stuff. So I just wonder how many little pockets there are, even amongst our group, that might like to just meet up and mentor each other, you know, help each other
that
out.
sounds a good idea, actually.
Yeah, so, you know, just put my hands up. I'm not sure how to get it down at the
No,
moment.
really good idea. Thank
Cool.
you.
Cool. Well,
we can hook up
yeah,
after this and
you want to be. Yeah.
We could definitely plan some catch-ups between the teams. I think that would be
That'd be a good idea, like giving people ideas and saying what's good, bad, it's a great idea.
Thank you.
And Andrea and Peter, you wouldn't have been at that particular meeting, but Andrea, you probably would have. But Peter, there's a group as well who work out of Hamilton, the Community Living Trust, I want to say, that have a kind of similar advisory team as well. So I really think there's some value, absolutely, Andrea, and great that you think the same, Peter, to kind of get together and sort of learn from each other, because that's how we do this stuff, isn't it? That's why we're all part of this, so that we can equally learn. And I don't know whether any of our international participants here have equally got different advisory groups that we could try to get some connection internationally as well.
Yeah, we've got a little group that just meets casually. So internationally we call it Let's Talk Circles. It's about the work we do, Peter. But I'm just thinking there wouldn't be anything difficult about you guys creating a Let's Talk, whatever you want to call it, like Let's Talk, what would be the right word?
Advisory, advocating,
and just see who wants to come, because it's, you know, it's those conversations I find when I get together with the groups doing the same work as me, they really get me thinking and bubbling ideas and help me get over issues, and it's just nice to have company in the work you're doing. So
I've always thought to like just expand. Like I know there are other organizations out there, and I've always thought to like expand and like give other people the knowledge that we have or if they have, and then see if we can just mash them together and make something out of it.
Yeah, awesome.
Popped into my head that I saw recently is that Whaikaha, which is our new ministry for disabled people, has put out a leadership course for people with lived experience of disability to get them engaged and involved in developing those skills to some sort of cut feedback to the government in time, which I think maybe we definitely want to look at. I haven't fully mentioned it to the team yet because I was just reading about it recently, but that's another way I think around that we could all get everyone together and put that stuff together as well.
That'd be awesome.
Does anybody else have anything they wanted to talk about before we go back to the video? I just want to acknowledge and say I think that Peter, you mentioned it in your little video, actually being paid and valued for your role, I think is critical to this. We all too often expect families and people we support to provide input, to share their experiences with us, and actually being thankful for the contribution that people make is awesome, but actually being paid for the contribution that you're making is, I feel, just so much more powerful, really, and being an employee. And I think that was one of the big points in making sure that they were permanent paid employees. So they have got a permanent schedule that they come in every week for a meeting and do those sorts of things. Rather than just sort of a casual staff, we wanted to sort of have that as a permanent thing. They're treated as employees. Obviously, that means if there are any issues with employment, they would go through disciplinary process, just like with any other person. And it's all about learning those skills about having a job and being professional. We work a fair bit on that as well. So, Linda.
I agree. I really enjoyed and that thoughtfulness that you've got around the office meetings and also the opportunity to present directly to the board. I think there are probably some gaps that we've, again, because we've been in such lockdown and many people that sit on our advisory council have got significant health issues, so that there has been barriers around being able to come together during COVID as well. But as those are breaking away, I think we really need to start thinking about having at least our monthly advisory meetings, having those face-to-face in a location at one of our offices, and looking at bringing that that learning environment and that professionalism back into the conversations that we're having.
That was one of the things, because obviously I just started working with the A team within the last year. And that was one of the things we really noticed around equity when we went into those lockdowns. A lot of the A team didn't have cell phones or ability to access Microsoft Teams and Zoom and those sorts of things, or the understanding for how to do so. So it was quite a learning curve quite quickly, but we did get everybody on board, joining their meetings every week. Those people who did have access equity issues, we were able to get some support for them to get devices or some way that they were able to engage. And I think that was really quite meaningful as well, to make sure that we were able to continue in those crazy times and keep them. It was definitely difficult. It was hard engaging in those meetings. They're long, like 4-hour-long meetings, and doing that on Teams was intense. It's
intense for anybody. It's like, So we did the same thing. We were able to send people out and to provide either software or support or facilitation around that. But I think, as you're saying, I think we've just sort of relied on that platform now, and it's become, oh, well, why bother? Because that's the easy platform and I can just Zoom in or Teams in or whatever. But the value that you get, and just from the video, seeing people interacting one-on-one in rooms together and reconnecting, I think was really lovely.
Totally.
Congratulations.
It was a hard decision to make as well, and there was a lot of pushback. A few of the team members were like, I don't want to come back to the office, I'm just going to quit. And I was like, please don't do that. I really value you. Please just come back to the office with me. And we did. We got past it. They all came back, but everybody doesn't really like change, so it was a mission getting everyone back, but I'm glad that we did. Angela and Debbie.
I was going to say, we do surveys with our self-advocates, and we have a self-advocate do it. And we also do that yearly. But I think your My Life survey, I'd be interested in seeing some of the questions that we might be able to incorporate with our survey.
I do think that the original My Life survey was built on something from Canada. Would you say that's right, Jackie?
Yes, it is. It's a Canadian sort of tool that has 8 domains and quality of life. But we felt that we've got 8+1 because we felt that the sort of identity aspect was a bit missing. And so that's really critical and key within a New Zealand context as well. So we kind of incorporated the 8+1. So, quality domains, but I'll find the reference for us and I can put the reference in here, but it is a designated tool, and I think maybe Ray, you might be familiar with it, because would that be correct?
It's possible. Different agencies or different organizations have different ways of delivering that, but it could be a British Columbia document from our predominant funder, CLBC. However, I'm not sure, or it could be from there's a coalition or an advocacy group called People First, BC People's First, so it could be from that organization.
I think it is more of I don't recall it being People First, so I'll have a look for the reference for you, and we'll kind of be able to provide that. But just to say as well, it is a kind of quality of life surveying kind of tool. It's not a customer feedback surveying tool. We do that completely separately as well, and have different ways in which people can provide, the more immediate feedback as well that they might have about how they feel about their supports or kind of what's happening. I'll have a little research of that tab while we go on to the next.
Carol.
I just want to share what we're using the Working Together for Change process, just kind of adapting that. So the 3 questions of what's working well in people's lives, what's not working so well and what people want for the future. So it's kind of quite open. And then people have to go in and pick out the themes that are coming up.
Very good. All right, I'm going to work on sharing my screen again so I can show you the second half of that video, and then we'll have some more time for discussion at the end. Make sure the sound, yes, I'm sharing sound.
Coming together and also supporting one another and someone and doing something for them that they are not so or unable to or aren't as capable.
Yeah, certainly. I think it was a good 5 or 6 years ago, the A-team met with the executive team and challenged the thinking around sleepovers in the living rooms in some of the group homes. And I think it was a penny dropped for service delivery at the time, where we had a number of the homes that had, it was the standard thing to do. We had 5 people living in a home, and the sleepover was a bed that was pulled down from the wall in almost every home. So over the last 5 years, that's been a big push to look at opportunities to either rework the layouts of the homes, reduce the number of people in the homes, and give staff that breakaway space so that they have a good night's sleep. But most importantly, the rationale behind that was people in the homes wanted to be able to access their home freely and didn't want to feel that they came into the lounge to watch a bit of TV or to make a cup of tea in the kitchen, that they were going to be disturbing the staff that were there spending the night. And there's always the risk that staff might expect people to stay in their bedrooms so that they could have a good night's sleep. I don't think that wasn't the main driver. It was more to allow that person in their home that freedom of movement around their living space, which was a great realization for the organisation. And I think in the last 5 years, we certainly haven't implemented any new homes with that and with that layout. Any of the homes that we have invested in have all had a separate sleepover, and financially we've considered every opportunity to remove those sleepovers, reduce homes from 5 down to 4 or 6 down to 5 people with the appropriate space for the sleepovers. So yeah, I think I would say that's probably going to be the largest impact that I've witnessed the A-team.
Sure, so it did take a bit of a battle to get some systems in place to retrieve the information and then report on that information. I think that what we found was that presenting directly to the executive or the board was pivotal, because they needed to actually hear it from the people themselves around those things. But also what we also found was, I mean, over time they reported about 54 different issues. But initially when it was reported, it wasn't taken much notice of, and what we discovered was that actually they needed to have some data, if you like, or some measure that sits in behind that. So when we found, so for example, one issue was beds and lounges. So one of the team would bring up that issue and say, well, I can't access my lounge because my staff are there. And so we would talk about, well, is that an issue for other people? Then they reported on it. Well, then the executive wanted to know a little bit more about, well, how big is this issue? So then it became a matter of doing a little bit of research and calling and visiting homes to find out, well, what that issue is. And that one resonated quite well with the executive. I think that was not long after Sean had started. So he would come from another provider where they didn't have so many beds and lounges. So that was good for the team to see that actually there was going to be change here, that actually their voice mattered, and that there was change over time. I think the important part there was that, though, that the reporting back. There was also, we found lots of little loops that we needed to close off, but there also needs to be a bit of continuity.
The voice of people, we go out and meet people. The voice of people, some people are unbearable, can't talk. They're in the wheelchair and the house down the bottom. And I said to my coordinators, Tuesday team, the voice, they can't talk the verbal way, just make noises, sign language. I'll mind do the talking point would help them.
Well, there's been a number of things I've been involved with that's contributed to, I believe. So the My Life surveys is one. I think that's got a twofold effect, really. So it's retrieving information for the organisation to then make improvements and even directly to the person involved. But also that engages them in the houses and they're actually involved in seeing what's happening out there. There was also the Homes of Choice when they became a separate entity and they then have to do research and talk to questionnaires and get some feedback from people. They use the team to actually get a sense of what sort of questions are going to work, and then they utilise the team to get those questions. The consumer group meetings, as I said before, about the rights, I can spout rights to anyone, as any one of us can, about your right to this and that, but when you have somebody who's sitting, or a team of people that sit in the room and say, you have a right to this, and actually I did this, and this is what happened for me, that really resonates, and people really take that on board.
So certainly at the moment we have an A-team group that are largely residential service users, CRCL, and then people that don't necessarily access our services. So we certainly are receiving a lens from that specific cohort. Spectrum Care provides services to well over 1,700 people now, which would be another 1,200 other families and people that don't access residential or CRCL. So I think we're probably missing a gap there where we can try to include people in whānau into the A-team. They certainly are in the quality steering group, but I think the combination of A-team and quality steering group with people with lived experience will give us a greater clarity. I think the opportunity for advocacy and growing the voice of the people themselves, helping the people in our services self-advocate, to speak up for themselves, have those confidence to ask for better, ask for more, expect a quality of service that we can all be proud of, is certainly something that the A-team fly that flag, and really proud to have them doing that on our behalf and for the people that we support.
I think it's been helpful, it's been good, and other people hearing, or the advisory group hearing other people's voice as well as our voices being heard as well too.
I think there's a lot more to go in terms of getting some actions out of the, if you were, I think that would be really important to ask the team about, well, what have you seen in terms of changes over the years? What do you feel like your voice? I mean, it was always interesting to me when they were asked, okay, well, what do you do, and has it made a difference, and all the rest of it. There would be a couple of people in the team that would always bring up this one situation where we literally walked into a house and it had about 5 or 6 people in wheelchairs. And we went and looked around the house, and in one of the bedrooms, and these people have very high needs, obviously a lot of care needs. And we went into the bedroom, and this was several years back now, not long after the Christchurch earthquakes. And we're standing in this room and looking around, and I noticed something. I said to the team, "What do you notice about this room? What do you see?" And what the notice was that the head of the bed, there was a shelf sitting above it, and there was a loose object on top of that. And so there was the opportunity for, if there was an earthquake, for this to literally fall on the person's head. And so we talked about that, and on that occasion we came back and we talked with property and told property about it, and then they were able to get immediate action in that. And I think that was the important thing I realised, that for the team to actually, one, report something or see something or an issue of concern, but they need to see that something does happen down the track.
One of the times that the A-team really helped to raise the voice of people we support was over some of the lockdowns, especially in those early lockdowns where everyone was feeling very isolated and often confused about what was happening. The A-team started a kind of peer support phone calling group. So they were ringing people up either on the phone or over video call just to check in with people, make sure they were doing okay and stop people feeling so isolated. I think that was really, really valuable and really important to be thinking about how everyone was feeling and keeping that social connections, as I know so many of us struggled over those lockdowns. So that was a really valuable input that the A team provided.
I also, I rang them, I phoned them, I had a couple of, allocated a couple of people to ring houses, likewise as the rest of my team, and just check and see if they're okay, and also explain, let them know about how the cases, how many.
Just so important to me, help pay my bills. Helps me support Susan, my fiance. She's on the pension. She's 68, old pension lady, my miss, very old lady. She's very she's happy with me. I live at CL Independent Living with one of the Gigi's houses at Wallace Road, Mangere Bridge. I've been there over 8 months. I love living with Susan. We go out and community. We go on the bus rides. We go to the coffee bars. We get out.
My job is more important to people like us. My face. It's about speaking up for people. Because if you don't speak up for people, it won't happen. That's one time we went to Wellington and we presented on houses or how we are doing as a community or how people are feeling when they've been mistreated.
Yeah, I had a wee think about that actually, and I was reminded by the fact that, it was back in 2016 where we presented at an NZDSN conference, and that was an experience in itself, you know, flying down to Wellington, staying in hotels and all the rest, and presenting to a group of people, and it was a full room, and it was really, really good, and at the end of it they got a bottle of wine, which was highly exciting because that was really cool, but I think that you know, there's a lot of people going, oh, we really like what they were saying. We really love the idea. And actually the fallout was we had people coming and ringing me up and say, can we come and talk to you about how you managed to set this team up. But the most amazing thing about that day was that Bill English was speaking at that conference. And at the time he was the Prime Minister. And he mentioned the advisory team and said how a wonderful concept it was and how wonderful it was to see people with lived experience being able to contribute to services like they were. So I think that would probably sit as a highlight. I mean, yeah, a lot of stories over the years, but a lot of highs and, yeah, some interesting times.
My favourite A-team memory is working and also receiving the support, and so hearing and seeing other people's point of view of my life survey and gathering that information and seeing whether they've improved or how their life is going overall.
Oh, I think probably my first interaction with the A-team was at the NZDSN conference a number of years ago. I'd only just started, and next thing we were in Wellington at a conference, and I watched I'll say his name, Richard. I watched Richard present at NZDSN, and I just thought, wow, that took guts, that took confidence. He was a young man back then that just didn't take no for an answer. He was living his life. He was talking about the strides that he had made alongside his housemates to really achieve a unique experience for him, and that's probably one of my fondest memories the other one with the same young man is I was driving past our respite home on Waiheke Island, and he had taken on his own while he was there on visiting his mom to rock up at the house and tell the families that were visiting all about the A-team, what he was there to do to help them and their person. I was just so proud of what he was doing, which is really great.
So my favourite A-team memory is lots of small memories kind of sprinkled throughout. They're a really lovely presence to have in the office. They all have a great sense of humour and are a really valuable part of the Spectrum Care whānau.
I cherish when I went to Wellington and went to the conference in Wellington at Te Papa, up at the top of the casino restaurant, not the bar, the restaurant. Went to the restaurant there and put kaium for us and conference rooms. I did well. I spoke on the microphone and I achieved a hell of a lot. Helen Pearce and Kelly Henderson said, Michael, you achieved a lot. We got a gift. A token means we got a gift from the people who gave us a bottle of wine for a token to we did a good job.
No, but I just think that actually it's you know, the whole disability sector is thankfully moving towards ensuring they do have those advisory team people, you know, of lived experience, because they are incredibly valuable to any kind of change in the disability sector. And I think that the team have grown phenomenally over the years, and their potential is often underestimated in terms of what they can do. And they do that, and to be fair, a lot of that was even them themselves not believing in what they can do. So I think that we're only, you know, there's a lot more to come, you know. These guys are going to do amazing things, and others to come, with anything.
Yes, my voice goes out to the people at the Wallace Road Wheelchair House. The clients are very sick, they're not well, they can't talk, verbal, can't talk. My voice goes out for them.
Look out for a job and it'll be very good. You have to hang in there, you know. Even though you can't really talk, you have to hang in there. Otherwise, what's the point of living if you don't have fun?
Awesome. All right. So that's our team. That's us. One second, let me see if I've got the. We already talked about all of that. So the last little activity and discussion session we've got here, maybe, is just a kupu whakamatonga, or some closing words. So I'd like you all to please take a moment to write down a word describing how you're feeling right now.
Sorry.
All right. And if everyone's ready, I'd like you to compare that feeling with the one that you wrote down at the beginning of the meeting, and then share any changes in your responses or any things that you would like to take away from today's kōrero. So I'll stop sharing my screen now, and anybody can go.
Okay, at the start of the meeting, I was feeling like I should be here and I want to be here. And now I feel really hopeful and really energized to keep doing what we're doing. I think it's the most important part of what we're doing is continually handing over and getting to co-creating, and then stepping back from that and not being the ones that need to be there. So the guys can get on with speaking up for themselves and advocating for what they want in their lives. That's when our job's finished. So yeah, thank you for the recharge. Kia ora.
I can go. I was, I guess the word I wrote down at the beginning was curious, and now I'm more sort of excited to see that similar conversations are having across the world, across the other side of the world. And I don't know about other Canadians, but I feel an affiliation to that part of the world, New Zealand and Australia. Feel some sort of kinship there. Maybe it's the landscape, I don't know, but I think it's also just a way of sort of approaching supports and services from that self-directed perspective. And great to see that the sort of self-advocacy is extended to the actual work itself. So very encouraging, and excited to look at other opportunities and how to sort of partner and engage in conversation moving forward.
Thanks, Ray. That's awesome.
I'm happy to go. A bit like Ray, I wrote down inquisitive as my sort of first question. I'm really enjoying, I know I haven't been to a lot of the meetings. The time difference catches me up every now and then. We started the meeting at 6:30 a.m. Australia time today. So every now and then I miss it. And last week I was on leave. So I sort of have come back, and the challenge that I've been given by my board, and that is around innovation, is over the next couple of years where we're going from an innovation perspective. All of the partners in community for the National Disability Insurance Scheme have just been given a 2-year extension to our contracts rather than go back to tender. So the board now has thrown down the, okay, so it's the innovation challenge. So we work on a premise around good, better, best, where we start with good practice. We want to create better practice, and ideally we will establish best practice from that. So what I got out of today, my second word I wrote down was inspired, is being able to take some of the ideas and conversations that we had today, taking those back to our advisory team, taking that back to we've got a network of 35 of our staff are people with lived experience, direct lived experience. So taking it back to them as well and saying, how can we use this as an example to move from good or better into that best space? So thank you again. And I can't wait to meet everybody in a few weeks as well.
Peter and I will be joining you down in Christchurch. How many of you are coming to Christchurch?
I'm coming.
No one else? Well, it'll just be us then.
So yeah, so thank you. So moved from inquisitive to inspired. So there you go. What a great Wednesday.
I think it's a great Tuesday. Just so you know, we're in the
yeah,
past.
over there in Canada,
we're living in the past here.
What a great Tuesday / Wednesday.
Totally. Carol?
On Tuesday.
Or Logan or Angela?
I was going to say that my first word was festive, because we've been talking about our Christmas party. So that was kind of on my mind.
Yeah.
And so, but after listening to the presentation and everything, I went to energized, because I've learned things today, and that my life survey, I'm going to look more into it. Like, we do surveys, but I think this one would be quite interesting to do with our outreach program, because it's people that live on their own, and it would be kind of a way to see how they're feeling about living on their own and what they need, and maybe things that they don't want us doing. So I think it's interesting.
Thank you for sharing. Carol.
My word at the beginning was a little bit stressed, because of technical issues. And then at the end, it was a feeling of thankfulness, really, for Peter for coming along and sharing his work with us. And yeah, I'm quite excited about the idea that people might get together to kind of talk more about what they're doing, because I think it's really that not only encouraging people to take the lead in their own lives, but in services that support people. So I think that's really exciting.
Thank you, Carol. And Logan.
Well, I took the exercise quite literally. So my first word was sore. Read the back thing I keep whinging about. But my last words, and I'm going to hyphenate here and cheat a little bit, was collaboration potential. And really speaking into Taitoka options and the concepts they were bringing up in terms of, you know, how do we keep linking people up that are doing similar mahi? Because that's where the magic happens. So I just saw some really amazing collaboration potential, you know, between both of your organizations and maybe Humanly and just so many other people. So this is how do we just keep joining people up? So, kia ora.
Kia ora. Thanks, Logan.
And it looks like Andrea's having a party now in her place, so she must be feeling a lot better. I guess mine was quite literal as well, Logan. It's been quite a wild week. We have our Chief Operating Officer leaving tomorrow, and yeah, I'm covering that role. So I felt quite tired when we literally started this meeting. But through Tabitha, I must give Tabitha and the wider team absolute full credit for everything that's been presented today, because they've been busily working behind the scenes creating this, and I'm left feeling incredibly inspired as well now. And both Tabitha and I have inherited really being part of the A team over the last 6 months, and there's brand new coordinators within the A team as well. So that the advisory team have had a lot of changes. And I think, you know, we're trying to just sort of really establish, find out, understand, and then expand lots of opportunities. And it was awesome to hear some of the previous things that people have done and how we can do more of that kind of going forward as well. And I know, Peter, you're going to have an awesome time when you go down to Christchurch. I think Linda, you'll be finding a cocktail bar and enjoying.
Hopefully, yeah.
I really look forward to meeting you, Peter. It's going to be really fun.
Me too. I'm happy to go down there. So yeah.
It's going to be great.
It's my first time to the South Island. So
oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm quite excited. And I'm dragging my husband across the ditch as well. So we get to spend an extra few days and doing a little bit of travel after the conference.
You'll like it down in Christchurch. I've been down there once with my parents a long time ago. It's nice but cold.
It is.
Yes.
It's very cold.
So wrap it warm.
And I'm in t-shirts and jeans at the moment here. It's 24, 26 degrees now in southeast Queensland. So we've got well and truly into spring. So
I think if we checked in with our Canadian friends, they would really challenge the concept of cold. In New Zealand.
It's 27 right now where I am. So.
Summer still, kind of, right?
Summer
oh,
still,
no, it's autumn. But yeah.
That's nice. See, same.
Yeah. Well, we're going into the cold. You're going into the warm.
Yeah. Peter, would you share your feelings?
Good.
All right. So my first feeling was excited and nervous. Obviously, I haven't presented like this in quite a while, and I put a lot of work alongside the team to get a lot of that put together, and literally finished that video at 4:56 yesterday evening. So, yeah, it was quite a culmination of work that we've all been putting in, and then at the end I was feeling happy and sort of relieved that I can stop talking now. Pretty well.
All right. Okay, so my first word was I felt really good because this is my first time being online and I've got to see all you guys. And I'm glad to see some of you guys in Christchurch. I'm looking forward to it. And I guess my second word, which is okay, but I'm probably gonna change it because I'm so looking forward to going down to Christchurch. So I'm gonna change it to excited, totally excited.
Awesome. And the one little side shoot of this activity that I just wanted to sort of add in there is that we noticed that everyone's words were a little bit different. And in the beginning, some people were feeling, you know, in pain or exhausted or stressed because of their computer issues, but we didn't see any of those things. So we didn't really know how people were feeling. And I think that's an important thing for us to take away from today, remembering that we don't always know what's going on for another person or inside of their head. So it's really important that we listen to them and that we ask them. And that's what we're trying to do. So, yeah. Do you guys have any other comments, discussion, conversation, things you wanted to share before we finish up today?
I'd thank you to you, Peter, for your kōrero, and Tabitha and the Spectrum team especially. Yeah, it's been a really great chat today, so thank you all.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Is there anyone that would like to? Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
Sorry, yeah, ngā mihi kia koutou, kia korua, kia koe, Peter. Mō tō tautoku, mō tō kaha, mō tō maia, mō tō manawa nui. So just acknowledging the strength you have and the courage and the resilience that you have, Peter, and your team and the wider team around you to do the work you're doing. And just applaud I know the last minute getting videos ready kind of work. I know a massive amount of work goes into that.
Really?
So just huge credit. Yeah, you'd be chuffed with it now. You can look at it, you can love it, and in a month you'll really love it. But so well done for that piece of work. Yeah.
Thank you guys very much. Was there anyone else that has a sort of closing, sort of cultural closing thing that they do in their country that they'd like to finish up on with? Or otherwise, Andrea's lovely karakia closing us off there was great. No? Beautiful. Thank you guys so very much for your time today. We've really enjoyed chatting to you and learning from you and being part of this process. And we will see you at the next one, which I believe Kira Tautoko is running. Our next one.
Of course, yes. Yeah. Andrea and yeah.
Beautiful. When is that session?
I think it's the 13th. It's the 13th of October, a Wednesday.
Yeah. So guys, just what we're hoping to do, those that were there last time, please come if you weren't there. You're still extremely welcome. Peter, welcome if you want to come as well. So what we're going to do is, you told us a lot of story last time in your conversations. We're going to try and do a little practical thing at the first part about how we try and weave those stories together into connection. So come ready to just be yourselves and be present and whatever you get thrown into for about 20 minutes. And then after that, we just really want to hear from you guys, like some little stories or little things you're using, visuals, tools about how you're connecting people. So we've kind of put that out via the email, but we've had a great big silence. So tell us if you're going to bring something, so then we can just make enough space for as many people as possible. You know, even if you share a tool for 2 minutes, that's giving it to everybody else to think about. And what you think might be the most average thing you do might be a wonderful addition to somebody else's toolbox. So kia kaha, I'll chase you again if we don't hear from you. So feel a little bit nervous now, guys. Kia ora.
That's all right. Thank you very much for sharing, Andrea, and we will see you guys all in a few more weeks.
And looking forward to seeing you guys down in Christchurch, some of you.
Beautiful. Have a lovely day.
Have an awesome evening, day, week.
Ka kite anō.
Bye.
Bye.